Newspapers Media Network. My name is Levi Meyer, and this show is for the interim named Living in Miami with Levi, or Miami Living with Levi. We'll have a discussion about that and maybe get some audience involvement in picking the perfect name for it. But I've been told we have to cut luxury. Today we have Lyle Stern from Koniver Stern. Lyle is an expert in retail commercial spaces in Miami and around the country, but very specifics to Lincoln Road in Miami. Welcome, Lyle.
It's great to be here. I'll have to put in for the name. Is there a prize?
Everything's for sale.
Cash prize? Okay.
Everything's
for sale.
we might be able to call it the Koniver Stern.
I was just thinking that.
We take some headlines. So, Lyle, tell us a little bit about Koniver Stern. What is it you guys do?
So we Koniver Stern Group is really a retail leasing company more than anything else. We represent landlords and we represent tenants. So we represent today about 60 different tenants. 60. Some in an area as small as Miami Beach or South Miami or Brickell. Some in an area as large as the United States. So we represent in different geographic areas companies like Whole Foods, Tesla, Pottery Barn, Williams Sonoma. 60 different tenants. So it's all retail, some soft goods, some restaurant. Grocer, and then about a third of our practice is representing landlords where we're their exclusive leasing brokers. And these tend to be urban projects, and they tend to be large and more sophisticated projects with vertical components.
Wow. And primarily that's in Miami, in the Miami and surrounding South Florida area?
So it's a great question. So all of our tenant leasing for the most part is in Florida with the heaviest concentration in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. Our development work, where we become the leasing arm of a developer, can be almost anywhere in the United States. We've done projects in Chicago, Los Angeles, Texas, Florida, Georgia. We're currently doing one in North Carolina.
Fantastic. How many years are you guys in business now?
So I've been in business a little over 30 years, and Bruce Koniver and I have been partners 28 years. Yeah, you know that guy.
I love
Plug. He just sold his house. Plug.
Real estate plug.
This is your guy. Real estate on the water.
That's true. No, we did just sell Bruce's waterfront real estate in Coconut Grove. Beautiful little property, and I think he's moving on to bigger, better things now. So guys, that's really exciting stuff. That you do have 30 years of experience in retail, and most of it Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, but you've done projects throughout the country. You guys have a strong focus in Lincoln Road. I recently even saw your name in an article about 17 bids being put in for an office building to be built on the city of Miami Beach. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project and your involvement in Lincoln Road? Sure.
We own property on Lincoln Road. I've owned property on Lincoln Road for over 30 years. So I've seen I've seen a lot of the cycle on Lincoln Road, but the current article you're talking about was before the pandemic. I was getting calls from luxury residential brokers looking for office space for people they were selling homes to that were migrating down from the Northeast, the Midwest, the West Coast, that were basically tax migration. I'm sure lifestyle migration as well, but tax migration for the most part. So these folks were looking to set up their family offices, small outliers of their investment banks or private equity firms or private capital firms. And they were looking for office space in Miami Beach, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 square feet. And I realized as I was getting these calls that we just didn't have enough space. We hadn't had a new office building that had been built in the city of Miami Beach in almost 20 years. And there was a limitation on the amount of Class A office space that was available. And as great as some of the buildings are, some of them are also dated. So I looked into it a bit more, and then I did a white paper that I sent to our mayor and one of our commissioners, Dan Gelber and Ricky Ariola, and said, here's why I think we should do an RFLI, a request for letters of interest, and promote office development on city lots. Let's pick 2 or 3 lots around the city that make sense, geographically make sense, and see what the appetite is from the development community. My thesis was really that that there would be successful bidders, and that B, we could improve surface parking lots in the city that their only utility was really parking. And instead, through private development dollars, we could enhance the public walkability of the city and also create some more connective tissue. So that was taken to the commission by Ricky Ariola. There was a positive city commission vote, and an RFLI was going to go out, and then the pandemic hit. Interestingly enough, during the pandemic, we had unbelievable migration from all over the country to South Florida.
A very short lull where people held, but then right after April, it just took off.
I mean, you know better than I do who's buying here and the amount of invested capital going into homes. And we realized that there was really going to be a big uptick in demand for office space. So one of the assistant city managers called and said they were going to release the RFLI. I offered to have the bid help drive the process, because the Lincoln Road bid, which is all the property owners on Lincoln Road pay into a common fund, and has a marketing budget as well, that we could distribute the word cooperating with the city. And we got 18 development responses, so 18 teams. Barry Sternlicht and David Martin and Michael Adler and Northwood Capital and Sterling Bay from Chicago, who's building the first Class A office building in Wynwood. So the response has been great, and the opportunities to kind of reimagine the city's tax base and also provide great Class A office space for folks that live in Miami Beach that want to move their offices here. Predominantly newer, migration, I would think. And I think that what we end up with is going to be this incredible tapestry of public space that connects these lots and makes the city more walkable.
Fantastic. Do we know where that stands? So now we've gotten 18 formal bids. Now the city is going to go forth and review those and then select.
Well, so what will happen is this was an RFLI process. So the city will hopefully vote, as they've already done in the Land Use Committee and Finance Committee, to move forward and put together a formal RFP. And the RFP really requires an investment from all the development teams. They'll have to hire architects and zoning experts and landscapers and public design specialists, and it'll be a formal competition. And then the city will hopefully select, one or two or three. It could be all three lots. It could be, one lot. And then in the commission meeting, they added a fourth lot, which is a large parking structure across from the convention center, which is approaching the end of its useful life. And that could be development site as well. That could be parking, office, hotel. So it gives us a chance to reimagine and replan the city a little bit.
Yeah. It brings in a lot of new life. And as you said, it's been 20, 30 years since we've had a new development for an office building. And what I'd love to see, if anybody's listening or cares, is I think it'd be really nice if they did add an art component to that, because I think just bringing up a new building in that area is an opportunity to really refresh the face of what's going on in Miami. And we're doing it already with the Causeway, right over, it's all throughout Miami World Center. I mean, everywhere that we're doing new development, you're seeing stuff like Zaha Hadid. The architecture is really stepping up a scale and bringing Miami into what I'm calling the city of the future.
No doubt. I can't imagine a scenario where the architecture, urban planning, art design, cultural component, and landscaping isn't top of the globe. I really can't. And the important part of this is it's also it's an incentivizer for the rest of the district. So it'll create better walkability, connectability. So the city's at a great moment right now, and not only talking about this RFP, but also rethinking what does the MXC district look like, the Art Deco district. And 4 new hotels will be opening on Washington Avenue. That will all have an F&B component as well. So we're taking older space that didn't have utility and reintroducing new concept by creating incentives to invest capital.
Well, I for one, am a big fan of that. Speaking of the future of Miami, what is your, right now there's a lot of discussion as to what is happening in Miami. It's without a doubt the hottest city in the country. Maybe Austin is a close second, but we are, Austin, Texas, Florida, we're both booming. We can't simply find enough houses to sell the buyers that are coming in. You go to any open house in Miami Beach, the Grove, Gables, Pinecrest, any nice neighborhood, and if you're looking for something with a 1 in front of it, you're standing in line at an open house on the first Sunday. Multiple bids, above asking prices. But the question everybody's asking themselves is, how long does that last? Is it a COVID thing? Is it a frenzy? Or does that change in 6 months, a year, when COVID isn't as top of mind for others? Personally, I have my opinions on the future and longevity and growth of Miami, but I'm curious, what does the future of Miami look like to you? And so, from someone who's invested 30 years ago and maybe looking to the next 30.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So unheralded, what we're seeing, right? With no parallel in our history. But I think the fire burns as long as you keep the log on the fire. So I think that we have to look at this moment and say it's a horrible misfortune. This pandemic is a horrible, horrible misfortune That said, Miami has been positioned very well because of it. And I think that we have to look, when I say we, I mean all the municipalities in the county and the tri-county area, all the mayors, all the elected officials, all the public officials really have to look at this and say, we have an amazing moment to rethink what our future is. And we have to make investment. We have to make smart investment. We have to ask ourselves, what do we want? So if we want a better quality of lifestyle, we need, better parks. We need, additional schools. We need more office buildings. We need all the things that support what people want if they make the move here and if they want to stay here. So we have this incredible base that started, right, because of COVID. The moment we're in, the number of homes that have been sold, who's moved into our community, who's investing in our community as a new resident, the investment into philanthropy, into schools, into neighborhoods. So how do we grow that? How do we make this the place that they want to live and the place where they want to bring their companies and where other companies, both domestic and global companies, will want to be? So we have an amazing moment in time that we should not squander, right? What was the line in Hamilton? I'm not going to waste the shot. What was that line? And we shouldn't. So we have to think it through. We have to be nimble and we have to be quick. We can't be, processed to death. We can't be committed to death. We can't, we can't, we have to ask ourselves the question now in the moment of what's happening. And I have great confidence in our public officials. And I think that, everybody's been speaking, highly about what Mayor Suarez did and just simply responding, how can I help? And I think that that's what I, as a business person, as a resident, want to hear from every public official in every municipality in the Tri-County area. How can I help? And how do we create an intelligent plan?
Taking a really proactive approach. Again, touching to Mayor Suarez, I mean, he's reaching out directly to companies in San Francisco, trying to lure over tech here to show them that with today's work from home and with the shift of everything that's gone on from COVID, how Miami is positioned to be the best city of the future, and how Florida in general, from a tax perspective, and all the incentives that the city's taken to do that. So I think the proactive approach is really the best that we can, nimble, quick, and proactive.
But all of our elected officials have to move in lockstep, right? And it's not easy because there are always, naysayers in the community, people that don't want things in their backyard. We have to be, responsible to historic preservation, public transportation, public education, public space. We have to ask ourselves, how do we create the community of the future today? Because we have a moment we've never had before and an opportunity that we've never had before. And we may hopefully not ever have again because of what created it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems to me that the supply is not stopping in terms of people coming to Miami. I'm hoping that will create the demand for better schools, better restaurants, better, more art, more culture, more architecture, and really just bringing Miami out of the adolescency that I think we've already grown out of, and into being the city of the future. But there's so many areas left for development, especially from even a retail perspective. We have Miami World Center coming up. Edgewater is slated for a major redevelopment in the next boom. We're looking at the design district, which is already come up out of the ground and is already a little, maybe even, I would say, even a little ahead of its time, but everything around it is growing very rapidly. So Miami's poised to be a really, really large city of the future.
Well, I think you make the biggest point. We have, like other major important cities, we have these areas of nodes, and now we're talking about connecting the nodes. Miami World Center and Brickell, and downtown, and certainly the Design District, and Little Haiti and Magic City, and Wynwood and Allapattah and the beach and Aventura and all those areas in between. So there's a lot of opportunity for intelligent connectivity. We have to get mass transit right.
We must absolutely always been one of our. I think speaking candidly, my thought process is that Miami has always lacked in mass transportation. And it's difficult. We can't just do underground trains like everybody else can. You go a few feet down here, we hit water. So that's been a pain point. And I think a pain point that to World Centers, a node to them is they're right at the epicenter, right? So they have the Brightline Miami, Metro Rail, Metro Mover, Tri-Rail, all of it comes right into the World Center. They're right off the 95, off the 195, like all the veins point into World Center. But I think connecting Allapattah and the Design District and Little Haiti and South Beach, both South Beach, North Beach, Mid Beach, but connecting the beaches and bringing everything together is do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. So I think that right now the commission and the municipalities have made a firm statement that there will be this extension of the Bright Line that's local instead of just regional. So there'll be stops in Wynwood, Design District, Little Haiti, Magic City, North Miami, Aventura, going up to Broward County. And I think that getting that in the ground and funding it now is one of the most important things we can do. First of all, we need to be able to move our workforce around. It's impractical and it's expensive to drive a car everywhere. You need insurance, you need gas, you need to pay for parking when you get there. So it's impractical, and the cost of parking has grown. So it's insufferable by our labor pool. So we need to be able to move people around all the municipalities so they can get to and from work. And I think Blackstone made a big statement by taking space, 44,000 feet, at the Brightline station, right? They went into the office building there, and I have no direct line of communication, but my observation is that they did that because what's important to them and their employees, especially, younger millennials, et cetera, is public transportation. They don't want to have to come down here and buy a car and sit in traffic. And I think we have to pay attention to that. The good news is that we started all this before the pandemic. So we now need to focus on it and get it done now. We have to be aggressive and progressive now.
Yeah, because otherwise that will be a pain point. And I think that
can't grow without it.
Issue. We can't do it. I mean, and the traffic grows, it gets worse and worse. They're going to be doing construction. I mean, we won't talk about the Palmetto, but or the Dolphin, but which have been construction nightmares for years. But as far as I'm concerned, solving that problem, getting it into the future, and it's not going to be something that's quick. It's going to take time. It's going to get a little worse before it gets better.
Well, the good news is the tracks are there. So now it's just building stations and adding trains. The hard lift is done, especially in the Tri-County area, because the Brightline runs all the way to Palm Beach right now.
Yeah.
So now we need our local stops, and those stops for the most part have been identified. Now we have to build them now.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Brightline station would be to Miami what Grand Central Station is to New York City. Would that be about equivalent? The difference is we're not there yet. We haven't built out all these ancillary stops and all these localized stations to feed into it. But that is where the hub is now. Brightline is what we call it, but it's been bought by Virgin, and it's who's obviously investing to see that there's a big future in Miami transportation. So I think all those
we have to make it affordable.
Incredible components.
We have to make it affordable, because the Brightline is great transportation, but it's not affordable to the working class.
But we get, again, adding those stops, I think in the longer run wouldn't that make it more
100%.
affordable, getting more people on it and utilizing it?
Yeah, and I think the county will have to subsidize it, because the ticket prices are too high for the hotel worker or maybe the office worker or the dishwasher, all the essential services we need to make our economy run. It doesn't run without a labor force. We have to be able to move people around more effectively and cost efficiently. I mean, you can get on a subway in New York and, I don't know, what is it, $1.50, $2? You can't ride the Brightline for $1.50 or $2. So the local connection is going to be important, but we have to make sure that it's affordable so it's used.
That's amazing. So we've talked a little about the growth of Lincoln Road and Miami. We talked about Miami overall. It's clear you're a big believer in the future of Miami.
Huge.
Big supporter of all the local politicians and municipal workers that are working together to make these things happen. Any tidbits of wisdom as we're nearing the end of our show here, or if something you'd like to impart?
I think we live in an amazing community.
And again, on would be possible people that are moving to Miami, people that are living here. There's a lot of people also that have concern about being priced out of Miami. But just with the thoughts of where Miami's moving, general thoughts from
Sure. Look, I think Miami might be expensive. I mean, water always seeks its own level. So, affordability right now is just driven by demand, and we have, a lot of demand. I think sooner or later supply catches up. Again, more your world and my world in the residential. But what I do know is that I think that this is an amazing place to live, and more people will come here. I think that all the cities were affected by COVID, New York chief amongst them. I would never bet against New York. I think New York is still an amazing place to invest. We have restaurant clients now, and we're looking at New York. And if you're willing to go long and you find the right landlords, and you can plant the flag to open something 2 years from now, what an amazing opportunity to invest in New York City and Chicago and some other places.
And it's already picking up steam. New York is coming. They're already coming back. So, in fact, our next guest that's going to be joining us is a luxury real estate broker from New York who knows a lot about it. He's born and raised in that area. And I've always said, well, we'll talk about Miami and we'll say all the great things about Miami. I mean, I'm raised here, raised my family here. They're born and raised. My wife is born and raised. My mother was born and raised in Miami. So we're very long time old Miami family, and I believe greatly in Miami's future. But as much as I brag about, and we are in bragging season, I really try not to knock New York, because number one, they are going through a pretty tough time. It's not really right to be knocking anybody in that position. But quite frankly, never bet against New York City.
Ever. I mean, so
Yeah.
the benefit for us is the amount of migration of business coming down here in restaurants, soft goods, but folks that have restaurants in New York that, it will take a while for New York to recover. And this is a pretty good bet right now in Miami. So we've done several deals recently with New York restaurateurs, Chicago restaurateurs, restaurants from Toronto. They're all coming down because this is where the people are now. And clearly all the neighborhoods in Miami, because with the new influx of residential based people are moving into, neighborhoods and upticking those neighborhoods as well. So the need for goods and services, whether it's a dry cleaner, a bagel shop, a shoe store, a cosmetic store in all the suburbs have picked up as well, especially as there's some migration away from indoor malls as well. So we're very fortunate to be where we are during this very unfortunate time.
Yeah. And I think the three things I always tell people when they're coming to Miami is that they have to get used to hurricanes. They happen, they come, they're rarely a big deal. I know that sounds nuts, but we get 2 weeks notice. It's not like we get 4 feet of snow piled on us every 5 times a winter. It's you buy right, you look in the right locations, you focus on things like elevation, impact windows, roofs that are strapped on properly, and you get with the right agents that know how to guide you in some of those neighborhoods. And that's not going to be such a concern. The other for me is hot Miami summers. You're just gonna have to grit your teeth and bear it. It's hot in New York too in the summer. Most people would say equivocally, but
go to the pool, get in the boat.
That's it. Get on the boat, go to the pool, spend some time with the family. Wear shorts. It's acceptable. Shorts. It's acceptable here in Miami. You can wear shorts and nice shoes and loafers, and it's really fine. But we talk about those two things, and then lastly, I talk about the service. And historically speaking, Miami doesn't always have the best service, but we're starting to see all these restaurants pop up. And I think with the supply of people that are coming here, the demand for better service will come.
Those folks have moved down as well. There's a tremendous amount of service personnel, especially in the restaurant industry, have moved here recently. So I think it's a good point, but I think
it's already happening. I'm already seeing it with just being out and about. We're already starting to see service get better and things getting, so, again, all things looking great for the future.
And no state income tax.
No state income tax.
Come on down.
Come on down.
Keep more of your money.
I say the water is warm.
The water is warm. Keep more of your money and come join us and have fun. It's really great here.
Great. So that's basically a wrap. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. This was really a pleasure.
Questions, they can reach out. Lyle Stern from Koniver Stern, Levi Meyer with the Meyer Group at Compass, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys on the next show.
Thank you very much.